SwimOutlet.com delivers the best online shopping experience. With an extensive selection and the lowest prices, you're guaranteed to find the product you need. Here's what you get. Free shipping on all orders over $49. Free 1 to 2 day shipping on all orders over $99. All orders placed by 6 p.m. ship out the same day. Shop at SwimOutlet.com, the web's most popular swim shop.
This is the Morning Swim Show for Thursday, August 29th, 2013. I'm your host, Jeff Cummings. The number of people who fail to successfully cross the English Channel is much higher than the number of people who are able to complete the swim from England to France. And yet the stories of those who are pulled out of the water are just as inspiring. Today on the show, we'll talk to one of those people who was unable to finish the journey. Bob Needham is now back at home in Lake Oswego, Oregon, and he joins us now in the Finis Monitor. Bob, it's good to see you. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
So you swam in the English Channel. From what I understand, it's about 60 degrees. Has your body temperature kind of reacclimated to normal?
Well, I got lucky and it warmed up quite a bit. I swam at the warmest time, and I think it was close to 63, but there is definitely some adjustment that goes on for at least 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, it's been a week since you swam the English Channel. Tell us about your emotions after you were unable to finish the swim and how those emotions have changed in the past few days.
Well, that's a good question. When I finished it, I felt very good about the effort, really solid, felt I put everything into it. And, you know, you don't do something like this unless you're very competitive. So afterwards, you question whether or not there was anything left in the tank. But given the 2 or 3 days it took me to recover, I feel comfortable I did everything I could that day.
So there's a saying, you leave everything in the pool. I guess you kind of left everything in the channel.
That's exactly right.
So specifically, why do you believe you were unable to get all the way to France?
Well, actually, I made 2 attempts when I was there. The first time I was in the water, there's actually 13 pilots that'll take swimmers out. And my pilot decided that I guess I was tough enough and no one else was, and he put me in the water, and after 6.5 hours, I abandoned the swim. I just felt that it was not possible to finish. So the following week, I tried again, and the tides were very unfavorable. There's a big difference because the tides in the channel actually move you north and south. They're not closer to land and further away. So it can be very complicated, very difficult to swim on what they call a spring tide, where the tide differences are great. So that was part of it. I think I had pretty good conditions. So I think it was the tidal influence that made it a little more challenging.
I guess that's the worst part of trying to plan these open water swims, is you just don't know how Mother Nature is going to treat the water on any given day.
And that's most notoriously known with the English Channel. The weather is so uncertain. There have been people just last year that sat for 2 weeks, had family and friends come over, and they never even had a chance to get in the water. So it's a very difficult proposition to get the right conditions.
So you had to stay in England a lot longer because, as you said, you had to do it twice, which I would imagine made an already expensive endeavor that much higher.
Quite a bit, nearly twice as much, because you're hiring a pilot twice, and actually I switched pilots because I lost confidence in my first one.
Yeah, I would imagine so. So all in all, how much money did you pour into this attempt to swim the English Channel?
Well, it depends on how many people you take over, but just the pilot cost and the registration fees, it turns out to be about 3,000 pounds, which, depending on your conversion rate, turns out to be a whole lot of money either way. Then you have your flight over, if you bring people, support people over with you, and then your accommodations. So it's quite an expensive proposition, not for the weak-hearted when it comes to having to put out some money.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I mean, talk about your training. I know you had to put a lot of time in the pool. On average, how many yards were you doing in a given week?
Well, I think my program, you have to adapt it also for how your body can recover. And as you get older, you have a tendency to swim fewer yards. But probably my good months, I was in 100,000 to 120,000 yards. I've had some exceptional months, but that's about all my body can do right now.
And you're 60 years old, and most of the people that I know that have told me personally that they have planned to swim the English Channel or actually did it were in their 30s and 40s, maybe in their early 50s. So why do you believe that you, at 60 years old, was able to even just make this attempt?
I guess where I made my mistake was I didn't really think about my age. Uh, I actually sent away for information on swimming the channel 30 years ago when I was 30 years old. But it's a lot more difficult, money and time off to accomplish that. I respect people who are able to put it together. But, I went make an attempt when it was feasible, and I didn't really think too much about my age.
So Bob, I don't want to neglect the fact that this English Channel swim was going to be the final part of a goal that you had to be a part of that elite Triple Crown swimming group. You completed the Catalina Channel swim in 2011. You swam across Manhattan Island in 2012. So I guess the question remains is, are you going to try to swim across the English Channel again to be able to complete this?
Well, I think I'd be lying to you if I didn't admit that I'm a little disappointed in not getting that. But I don't think I'm going to make another attempt on the English Channel. I think the goal there was to put in the effort. If I reached the Triple Crown, that would have been great. But I think it's time to try other things and move on.
Well, I understand you got another swim coming up in September, right?
That's right. In 17 days, I'll be swimming across the Santa Barbara Channel from Santa Cruz Island to a place I used to live, Carpinteria.
How long is that swim?
That's 22.5 miles, so actually it's further than the English Channel, but the weather is much more predictable.
Yeah, swimming in the Pacific Ocean is probably much better. Especially you don't have it's not a major shipping lane, which can affect tides and water conditions and all that too.
Well, actually, there is a major shipping channel between Santa Cruz Island and the mainland. And the Santa Barbara Channel is a lot rougher than people think. But again, I can pick a day when I'm going to swim, go down and take a shot at it. And I think, when it comes down to tidal influences, they're just not significant.
Right. Well, going back to the English Channel swim, I know that the goal was not just to complete the swim, but also to help raise money and awareness for suicide prevention. And I understand that it's very close to your heart that you had survived a suicide attempt.
Yeah, that's right. It's a little different than raising money for cancer or those kinds of things. It's a subject people feel uncomfortable talking about, but I kind of felt at the start that, if I'm not willing to talk about it, who's going to?
Why did you feel that you were comfortable talking about it?
Well, actually, I wasn't very comfortable when I got started. It was a very personal experience, and I think there is still quite a stigma associated with mental illness and suicide attempt in the public's eye. So I had to personally take that challenge on, make that journey to prepare myself to talk about it.
And I thought something that was interesting that's on your website, bobswims.com, is that your goal was to swim 3,000 miles, 3 million miles, while you were trying to make these swims. And so you actually, from what I understand, were able to complete that goal.
Well, you give me more credit than I deserve. It's 3 million yards.
3 million yards, you're right. Sorry, 3 million yards. Yes, 3 million miles would take more than a lifetime, probably.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be here if that was the case. But yeah, what I did was, maybe it's a coincidence, but over the 3 years that I planned the project, that it was estimated by the World Health Organization that 3 million people would have died through suicide. So I looked at that and I said, well, a reasonable goal for me is to swim 3 million yards during that same time period, and I did reach that goal.
Well, mental health is, as you said, not an easy thing to talk about, and it's which probably is another reason it's very, very difficult to talk about. But from a personal standpoint, how have you been able to move on from your suicide attempt?
Well, it took a lot of years with a lot of good medical care, working through, proper medical medicines, and also a big part of it was lifestyle adjustment. And I think if you told me how long it would have taken, as I emerged from the darkness and of a suicide attempt, that I don't know if I'd had the strength to do it, but over time I've been able to accomplish quite a bit. But you don't become cured of a mental illness. As with any illness, you manage it. I think I've learned to manage it well.
Well, I'm sure having a big goal like the Triple Crown has really been a big factor in helping with that.
Yeah, and I find exercise to really be an integral part, at least for me, in leveling out my moods, because I've been diagnosed bipolar, so mood imbalance is a big challenge for me.
Well, I'm sure it is. Bob, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on the attempt to cross the English Channel. Like I said, not a lot of people were able to do it, and much less attempted, so I'm sure that's going to be a source of pride for you for a long time.
Thank you very much.
All right, so that was Bob Needham joining us for today's edition of the Morning Swim Show. You should check out his website, bobswims.com. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.